Sushang is one of the 3 physical DPS we have available, and because she's a 4-star, she's one of the characters recommended if you want to have physical coverage. But unfortunately, yeah, she sucks. So let me explain why. First things first, I'm assuming trace and skill levels to be level 8 and 10 respectively, so I'll always say like the ratio, like the attack or percentage ratio of a skill to be level 8, and then next one should be like level 10. Oh yeah, I'm also gonna call Sushang Sushi because it's faster that way, and I don't want to keep saying Sushang, man. But starting off with Sushi's skill, it has a ratio of 184 to 210 of her attack to a target enemy with a bonus of a 33% chance to trigger sword stance with a ratio of 88 to 100% of Sushi's attack. Stance triggers are guaranteed when the target enemy is weakness broken and if already weakness broken. So yeah, the ratios are okay, but the 33% chance is far too inconsistent and weakness breaking is too slow versus strong enemies. Versus enemies with weaker toughness, it's better, but to be honest, killing enemies has no benefit to Sushang. Sushi's ultimate has a ratio of 288 to 320 of her attack to a target enemy and advance forwards her 100% with an attack buff of 27 to 30%. Sushi then gets 2 bonus chances for stance procs for 2 turns, and each bonus stance yields only 50% of the original stance damage. What's really nice is that using skill on an already weakness broken or breaking the toughness meter of an enemy guarantees the 2 bonus stances for a slightly weaker stance damage because, well, you know, multi-hits are kind of worse than single hits for the same amount of ratio. Unfortunately, if you're not breaking the enemy, or if the enemy is not already weakness broken, the bonus stances are subjected to the 33% chance of proccing the stance, and you will definitely have times when you use your skill with the bonus stance passive and none of them proc, which wastes 1 turn of the bonus stances. This ultimately leaves the ult with a mediocre ratio of like 288 with the ult and 184 with the skill for a total of 472% along with a potential stance trigger, which seems good since Dan Hong's ult ratio is 360 plus 108% if the enemy is slowed, plus 468. Except Sushi is using a skill point after ulting to make use of the bonus triggers because Sushi advanced forwards herself and doesn't give herself a bonus turn. So using a basic or skill counts as a normal turn, and if you're forced into using her basic attack, you basically lose the chance for, you know, the stance proc. Dan Hong also has the wind resistance penetration, which gives him a consistent damage increase, unlike Sushi's 33% chance, or if you want to break an enemy, you can guarantee it, but it doesn't really get any better with Sushi's talent since it's just an 18.75 to 20% speed boost, which does seem great since you'll be able to go into attack boots, but there's 2 problems. It only comes online when an enemy has been weakness broken on the field, which is great against multiple enemies with weak toughness, but it takes far too long for enemies with stronger toughness. It's also not enough speed to reach the 134 speed stat breakpoint. As Sushi's speed, it becomes 127.06 or 128.4 at level 10 speed, which means that you're missing 7 or 6 speed stat, so you need 3 to 4 speed subs to actually hit 134. Seal has 115 base speed plus 25% speed, which gives her a base 143.75 speed without really having to do anything, so Seal can get more damage by running attack boosts. Dan Hong, he has a 110 base speed plus the 20% speed when attacking enemies, and it gives him a 132 speed, which means you only need 2 speed from substats to reach the 134 breakpoint. But it's very, very important to know that Dan Hong needs to gamble a 50-50 for whenever he's attacking for his speed boost to actually proc. It's kind of problematic normally, but with Bronya, it's a little bit better. But once you've gotten his speed boost, it does start becoming easier to actually maintain his speed boost because he, you know, gets to act more. Yeah. Yeah, even more with Sushi's disappointing kit, like worthless kit, I don't know. Her Ascension Traces are awful. There's no other way to put it. As with most hunt characters, she has the targeting reduction at 50% or lower HP, but you know, it provides little to no benefit as you'd rather a tank or a healer deal with defensive utility options. Also, praying that Sushi doesn't get at below 50% HP is just asking her for her to be deleted off the game. Riposte helps by giving a 2% damage increase per stance trigger up to 10 stacks or a maximum of 20%. I'm not sure if it's a ratio increase or a damage bonus, but to be honest, it's not the damage that's the problem, it's the chance of proccing the stance. 33% is way too low since it only provides an additional damage worth of 1 or 2 basic attacks. 2 basic attacks if you have her ult online with the bonus, what's it called? With the bonus sword stance procs. Sushi's last trace is a 15% advance forward when using a skill or basic attack when a weakness broken enemy is on the field, except it's not a buff and it will vanish when enemies recover. Sushi's trace stats also suck, really. Attack, HP, defense, wow. Wow. Sushi's Eidolons are also bad. E1 refunds SP when skill is used on an enemy who's already weakness broken specifically, and it does not give SP when you break an enemy. You have to hit an enemy that's already broken, which is pretty awful, and even then it refunds, so you still have to pay the cost of 1 SP only for it to be refunded. Damage reduction from E2, it's really pointless since, again, you'd rather let the tank or healer deal with defensive utility. I'm not going to talk about 3 and 5 because you know what it does. E4 break effect is kind of pointless. You're a crit carry. Why do you need break effect? E6, her speed boost to stack twice and give 1 stack at the start of the battle, which is useful against numerous enemies and with enemies with weaker toughness. But the speed boost is still worthless against one boss. Like, yeah, you do well at like the first 2 turns, but then after that it's like, yes, I want to take 3 turns to break the boss. Very fun, very fun. With all this talk of Sushi's reliance on weakness breaking, what about Silverwolf? You know, Silverwolf weakness add would be really good, right? Except not really, because the weakness add chance becomes a 33% chance if you actually want a proper team. For example, let's look at the elemental diversity that we have. So for the quantum, we have Silverwolf, we have physical for Sushi, and Natasha or Lynx for the healer. Except we don't have a physical or quantum harmony character that works well with Sushang. There's Bronya, who's wind, there's Tingyan, who's lightning, and there's Asta, who's fire. Do you really want to run a 33% chance? At this point, that's the same chance of you triggering a sword stance, and I've seen sword stance miss 3 times. No, you don't. You don't want to run a Silverwolf. She's a bad character. Overall, Sushi is such a disappointing character when she's worse than Danheng, who's a free-to-play character. Sushi's gimmick is based on having enemies to be weakness broken or her breaking enemies. Except, Sushi has average toughness break on her skill and ultimate, which means that she's not faster at breaking toughness than any other character like Danheng or Seal as, you know, a hunt character. Not even accounting for the fact that enemies recover quickly after being weakness broken. And it makes me question why they made a character that benefits from breaking toughness without being efficient at breaking said toughness. And even if you don't want to break enemies, then your stance triggers are locked behind a 33% chance, which is far too low. Danheng is weaker than Sushi at her peak. But the thing is that Danheng's lows are far higher than Sushi's lows. Danheng just needs an enemy to be slow to get the full ult multipliers and can work with attack boosts if you're willing to work with a 50-50 when attacking. His talent has an awkward cooldown, but it's not RNG, And if you have E2, which is much easier to actually get because you know, starter characters are not absurdly hard to get, E2 reduces the cooldown and he gets an insane synergy with Bronya. Dan Heng is incredibly simple and it becomes a strength because his playstyle has little to no points of failure, while Sushi has so many points of failure. I find it hard to play her. At this point, Physical Trailblazer is way better than Sushi because the only point of failure with Trailblazer is whether you crit or not. And even then, Physical Trailblazer gets a crit rate bonus against weakness broken enemies at E4. Hell, even Dan Heng can prolong break by slowing enemies with his skill. But you're telling me Sushi, who actually wants enemies to be weakness broken, can't. Jeez, there's so many characters that I feel like are mid, and yeah. Hey, thanks for making this far. Next time, I might have a nuclear take on hunt characters. I don't know if you want. Oh god, it's gonna be so bad.